The last phylum in this chapter we're going to talk about are the mollusks. Some defining features of the mollusk. They are soft-bodied animals, and they usually have an internal or external shell. So that could look like a snail, possibly a slug, clam, squid, and an octopus or the octopi. Many of them have similar developmental stages. Many of their larvae are in a stage called a trophophore, and you can see this allows them to move freely in the water. It has a cilia on the bottom to allow them for movement. It's also a characteristic of the annelids that we already talked about this chapter, which they've decided that those are probably closely related. Although they come in different forms, their body plan is very similar. They have a foot, they also have the mantle. Some have the shell, and then they have a visceral mass. A visceral mass is pretty much a mass of internal organs. So like I said, it can take on many different forms. The foot, you can either be like on a snail, it can be a flat structure used for crawling, but it also could be like in a clam. It's those spade shape, it's the foot that will help those clams burrow. And then in the squid or the octopus, it's the tentacles that are used to capture prey. Mollusks can be all the different types of feeders that we've talked about. They could be a herbivore, a carnivore, a filter feeder, the detrivore, or can be parasitic. So some of the mollusks use what's called a radula, and this is going to be a tongue-shaped structure. They have hundreds of tiny teeth, and they're going to be attached to that radula. You can see there that it's used to scrape off the algae and eat the soft tissue of those plants. You also have some that are just mainly aquatic, like the clams, and water is going to flow over their gills and leave through it goes in through the in-current siphon and leaves through the ex-current siphon. So since they are aquatic, they're going to breathe through their gills inside of their mantle, but then some of the others use like the diffusion that we talked about. They do have an open circulatory system as opposed to the closed that we have, so they have a very simple heart, and it's just going to pump blood throughout this body plan, as opposed to having the closed circulatory system like ourselves with the blood vessels. And to get rid of wastes, they have what is called a nephridia, and this is going to remove the ammonia from the blood, and it releases outside the body. So we talked about the different types of mollusks. The major classes are called the gastropod, a bivalve, and a cephalopod. So a gastropod, either they're going to be shell-less or have one single shell, such as like the snails and things like that. The single shell is going to be there to protect their bodies, and then when they're threatened, they can pull in, just like I said, the snail. A pond snail is an example of a gastropod. You also have the slugs that are gastropods, and then there's some other examples of a gastropod. The next is a bivalve, which bivalve would mean two. So it has the two shells, and they have a powerful muscle that holds them together. The common bivalves that you're probably familiar with would be the clams, oysters, mussels, and scallops. Cephalopods are your octopi and squid. They are the soft-body mollusks, in which they have a head attached to a single foot, and that foot is going to be divided into the tentacles or the arms.